Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined, as I am every Friday, by Derek Brow and by Pat Fitzmaurice. We are talking Week 12 key questions. Just a few weeks left here in the fantasy regular season. We will try and get everybody over the top this week and into those fantasy playoffs here in the next couple of weeks. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our weekly consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. Also a reminder for everyone, there are 4 teams on bye this week. We had just 2 last week. We are back to 4. It is the Broncos, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Commanders. So make sure you get those players out of your lineups, guys. Before we dive into the key questions, any thoughts on last night's game, particularly any condolences for the Josh Allen manager in your league, Fitz?
Yeah, that's going to be hard for people who had Josh Allen to stare at that stat line for a few days. Same with Nico Collins. Not really a good day. Really, there were not too many guys in that game who had great fantasy days. Like James Cook, obviously, with the long touchdown run early. Didn't do a lot after that, but enough to have a pretty good day. Khalil Shakir, heavily involved, goes over 100 yards, so that was good. Was there really anyone on the Houston side? Like, we got the touchdown out of Jayden Higgins, and D-Bro and I were lamenting before we turned on the mics that, Higgins looked so good, and we wish Nick Haley would play him more.
Yeah, that's been a common refrain from you, D-Bro, this season.
Because Nick Haley is a bottom 5 OC. He's terrible. I just... Situationally, if you watched that game last night, nothing he did made literally any sense. I was very happy to see, like Fitzy pointed out, Jayden Higgins, his role continuing to grow. We talked about that on the waiver wire show. He got a 67% route share last night, and dude soaked up a 30% target share. And if you watch the game, he was so close to having a monster game. If Davis Mills could hit him on a sideline throw, not hit him in the back on a go route, it would have been nice. But back to Nick Haley, man, just situationally poor play calling. Like, you have a Buffalo Bills run defense that is god-awful. It's Swiss cheese. This is like how you beat them, is just run the ball straight down their throat. You come out passing. You continue to pass. There's about 4 to 5 minutes left of the game. You're up by 4 points. You get the ball back. And even Herb Street, and I'm not a big Herb Street guy, was talking about, okay, this is nice, a nice spot to sit here and put a long drive together to salt away the clock. Bro comes out passing with Davis Mills against the Buffalo Bills. I can't make this stuff up. I'm sorry, Texans fans. I hope you get a better OC next year.
Fitz, we don't need to spend too much time in this game, but I do want to ask, like, is the Texans defense one that you are going to be actively avoiding going forward here? I mean, like Josh Allen is as matchup proof as it gets for a fantasy quarterback. He wasn't great against them the last time he faced them. He was obviously terrible last night. It's a really, really good defense. And, Josh in particular has struggled the last couple of times facing them. I know nobody cares about, my guillotine league, but I have started him the guillotine, and I'm worried I'm going to get knocked out this week because of it. You never think about that being the case with somebody like Josh Allen, but the Texans defense is so good. Are they a defense that you're going to be actively avoiding in the future?
Yes, it is a skull and crossbones defense. So are the Broncos. The Rams and Seahawks are close to being in that inner circle of top defenses. There's one other really elite defense.
I'll say Patriots are getting there. They're not there yet, but they're getting close.
Patriots are pretty close. Like Packers are sort of on the outer circle, but I think the two that you see
recently.
Philly is the third one. Those are probably the 3 right now that you do not want to see going up against your best players: Houston, Denver, Philadelphia.
Yeah, it was just. They put the clamps down. I've been very, very impressive.
Can I say it was a week early? We had the conversation about Josh Allen, and then he made me eat those words last week. And then this week it was like, I'm not going to say you're wrong with the Josh Allen stuff, Worm, but I will absolutely give it his offensive line gave him no time. He has no answers. He has no wide receivers that are difference makers. Holy crap. Seems like a wide receiver one that you can lean on and depend in clutch moments is actually kind of the thing you want. Interesting, Buffalo.
Yeah. The offensive line has not been good this season for Buffalo, but also Houston's defensive line can make a lot of offensive lines look like that. I think it's both. The offensive line is not good, and obviously the weapons aren't great, but also the Houston defense is obscene. So
agreed.
Keep that in mind going forward here. Let's jump into the early slate I'll start off with a big spread here. Jets at Ravens. I want to ask about Tyrod Taylor, getting officially starting now in place of Justin Fields for the Jets. The Ravens defense has been playing better. Their season-long numbers, if you look at like fantasy matchup stuff, still look really enticing because of that how terrible they were early in the year is dragging it down. They've been better as of late. They haven't been playing the toughest offenses as of late, but that kind of continues here. So having said all that, Debra, I'll start with you. How does Tyrod Taylor starting impact your rankings for any Jets players you would consider starting this week?
It's really not pushing the needle for me. I do think the Jets players do get more catchable targets. Like Tyrod's been, depending on what metrics you're looking at, I'm not going to say incredibly impressive. The ADOT's been kind of low, but he's first in highly accurate throw rate, third in catchable target rate. So you are getting an upgrade from Justin Fields. But I think looking at just the backbone of this offense and what they're going to do and what they're not going to do is they don't want to pass the ball a ton. Maybe that changes a tad under Tyrod Taylor. But outside of like Mason Taylor, who are you even considering in fantasy right now? Like, I'm not playing AD Mitchell in any freaking like facet or league or anything. I'm not.
Does it impact Breece Hall for you at all?
A little bit in the sense of, okay, maybe they get into the red zone 4 times in a game versus 3 or 2 times, so maybe it helps raise his floor on a weekly basis, but his volume outlook is pretty much the same for me. So I don't want to say it's a total push, but in most aspects, it's kind of the same.
Fitz, any more, even if it's not a lie, but any more inclination to consider any of these pass catchers, any change to Breece Hall's ranking, or is it pretty much going to treat it the same as you did with Fields?
Yeah, the Jets wide receivers go from completely unplayable to completely unplayable with slightly lower numbers next to their names in the rankings. I think my highest ranked Jets receiver is John Mechie at wide receiver 61.
Oh, I got to find mine.
I've got Breece Hall at running back 19. I've got Mason Taylor at tight end 21. I think I'm like a spot or 2 below consensus on both guys. I just do not really want to invest in this offense.
In Superflex, Tyrod is listed as a start in ECR. Sure. He's QB 22. Some of that is there are not a lot of good options. Like you get past that top 20. There's really no. The names after Taylor, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Flacco, who, Burrow might be back. Burrow's in the top 32. Shador, Mason Rudolph, Cam Ward. Stop me when you get to a name that you want to start, right? So, I get why he's up there at 22. The point is, there's not a lot of good quarterbacks this week. So, in a pinch, you might have to, and the rankings suggest that that's okay in Superflex at the very least. This is, last I checked, it's a 13.5 point spread. Just quickly, you guys think the Ravens cover that? Or, I kind of think they don't. I think the Ravens are getting better and better. I don't know that they're back to the point of blowing teams out.
I think they cover it. It's close.
In the pools where I had to pick every game against the spread, I took the Jets. They haven't quit on Aaron Glenn. That's basically, when I see a spread this big this late in the season, I just want to know if the team has quit on its head coach yet, and I don't think the Jets have.
I think they cover only because I'm kind of curious, to your point, Worm, is the Ravens defense for real? To your point also, they've played Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, Tua, and the combination of Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. So, that's pumping up their numbers a lot since week 7, but the other side is they might... Those numbers might be for real, and they might cover here. So I kind of lean on the cover side, but I wouldn't be betting it.
I think the offense is where I'm more concerned if I'm taking the Ravens. They just don't feel like an offense that's totally cohesive to the point of beating a team by multiple touchdowns right now. And maybe this is the week they get it kind of all back together, but it just
I kind of think they're
quite there. So we'll see what happens here. I think it's a big number, though. I would take the Jets side. Let's go to Steelers at Bears, sticking in the AFC North here. In ECR this week, Rome Odunze, wide receiver 19. DeAndre Swift, running back 18. So about the same range for these two guys. Which player do you think will have the better day against Pittsburgh? Basically, what's going to be better, the passing game or the running game? Fitz, I'll start with you. Rome Odunze or DeAndre Swift?
I have to go with Swift. He is RB16 and a half point PPR fantasy scoring on the year and RB10 in fantasy points per game since the Bears came out of their week 5 bye. Swift is getting a lot of touches, 21 and 22 in his last 2 games. He's chipping in as a pass catcher, averaging 2.6 catches and 23.3 receiving yards a game. The Steelers are just kind of a neutral matchup against running backs. coming into the season, I never really would have thought of Swift as this steady, reliable type of player, but DeAndre Swift has become exactly that. Rome Odunze, meanwhile, has been kind of all over the place since the early season. The touchdowns have dried up on him. He had 5 touchdowns in his first 4 games, and he's only scored 1 touchdown in 6 games since. And the reception and yardage totals have been just all over the map. His last 5 games, 2 for 31, 7 for 114, 0 for 0 against the Bengals of all teams. I'm sure the Rome Odunze investors remember that one fondly. 6 for 86, 2 for 41. So the Steelers do give it up to outside receivers, and the weather in Chicago this Sunday is supposed to be pretty mild. So maybe this will be a big Odunze game. Wouldn't surprise me, but I think Swift is probably the safer bet here.
I will note, so usually I do these sheets earlier in the week, and I want to double check on like how ECR has changed. I did this one later in the week because I had some computer issues this week. So even just within less than the last 24 hours, Swift, I just checked now, actually has gone up. That's more of a change than we tend to see later in the week. So he's actually up to RB16 now, for what it's worth. So it seems like consensus is agreeing with you there, Fitz. Debro, do you see it the same way where you like Swift at his ranking better than Odunze at his?
I do. I will say, to the other side of the coin, the Pittsburgh Steelers' run defense has improved. Like since week 8, 7th fewest rushing yards per game, 5th lowest yards after contact per attempt. But the Bears, their offensive line's playing good. I think this is another game to end to Fitzy's points about Rome. I think a lot of those things are Caleb Williams stats. Rome has been held down because Caleb Williams has been so freaking volatile. Like good matchups, he's done really, really well in. Middle of the road or tough matchups, he just folds like a wet paper bag. So I think Rome's volatility is really, really like tied to the hip of Caleb Williams. But to Fitzy's point, I think Swift is the better bet here. I think Chicago has been able to run the ball. Their offensive line has been playing pretty freaking good. Swift has been breaking tackles at a high, like Swift's efficiency has been one of the most surprising things of the year for me. Like seeing a guy that amongst 54 running backs is 13th in explosive run rate, 17th in missed tackles forced per attempt. Those are numbers we haven't talked about, like even in close to the area code of DeAndre Swift since like the early Lions days. So to see that bounce back has been nice, and I take Swift here.
They have been doing a great job of run blocking. I mean, the investment the Bears made in the middle of their offensive line in the offseason with Thuney and Jonah Jackson and Chris Dahlman was just, it's paid such big dividends for them. It's really at least allowed Caleb Williams the chance to be the best quarterback he can be, which maybe is still not as good as we would like to see, but he's coming along.
To the point about the running game, I was surprised Kyle Monungai's RB36 in ECR, like behind both Tennessee running backs going up against Seattle. Like I think I'm not saying he should be in the top 20 or anything, but I think 36 is maybe a little low given some of the names ahead of him and the chance that I think he gets in the end zone. I mean, it seems like they want to use him when they're close to the goal line. I think the Bears are going to score on Pittsburgh, and the running game has been really effective. So I think that's probably going to look a little low by the time we get to the end of the week. Not that I'm saying he's a strong start or anything, but I'd bump him up in the rankings a bit from there. Let's go to Patriots at Bengals. Drake May has been fantastic this year, of course, but he still does not have a 300-yard passing game in his career. Is this the week against this putrid Bengals defense that he tops that milestone for the first time, Debra?
I'm going to give a layer with this. I'm going to say yes if Joe Burrow plays. Because if he doesn't play, then I don't think the Bengals push the Patriots enough to where they can throw. And there's so many avenues like that the Patriots could put up points in this. Like they could just hand it to Travion or Ramondre and just shove it down their throat all freaking day. If Burrow plays, they will be able to push them to where May gets to that point. Outside of that, I think there's a lot of variance and touchdowns, and maybe you get a defensive touchdown in this game with Flacco.
That's interesting. Fitz, let me ask you the question first, but then I want to follow up on that Burrow point. So what do you think about Drake May getting 300 yards in this game?
I didn't realize he hadn't had a 300-yard game this season.
Yeah.
And I've got him in a lot of leagues. I know he hadn't thrown for fewer than 200 yards in any game this season. Didn't know the 300-yard stat was there. So I'll say no, he doesn't in this game. With the Bengals' run defense so bad and with Ramondre Stevenson coming back this week, the Patriots have this nice 1-2 punch at running back. Patriots OC Josh McDaniels can have the luxury of being balanced with his play calling. And there really haven't been that many high volume passing games for Drake May this year. He threw 46 passes in that weird week 1 loss to the Raiders. He had 37 pass attempts in the Patriots' only other loss, week 3 against the Steelers. But since week 4, Drake May is averaging 26.8 pass attempts per game with a high of 34. That sort of volume just isn't really conducive to 300-yard games, even against bad defenses. So maybe it would take the Bengals upsetting the Patriots or at least throwing a good scare into them for May to, ramp up the pass volume, because he's averaging 41.5 pass attempts in those 2 New England losses. In wins, only 26.3 pass attempts per game.
Interestingly, without a 300-yard game, he leads the NFL in passing yards. Now, he has an extra game over a lot of quarterbacks because he hasn't had the bye yet, but he does, as of right now, 11 weeks in, lead the league in passing yards without a 300-yard game. Speaks to both, I think, his consistency and maybe some of the quarterback play elsewhere around the league. On the Burrow stuff, Fitz, do you agree with Debro that Burrow coming back would kind of change how you look at this game? I actually would be very inclined to fade a Burrow-led offense coming back weeks earlier than was initially expected on the timeline. Like, whatever rust there is, whatever, like, just coming off the injury. Not that Flacco, like, I mean, he's been really, really good at times, of course, but, like, not that Flacco's better than Burrow, but I just don't know what kind of Burrow we would see. Do you see it similarly to Debro, where Burrow coming back would really change the way you evaluate this Bengals offense? Like, just going to get back to normal right away, you think?
Burrow's better, no question, but I don't know. Like, I just still see it as being a really pass-heavy attack for the Bengals no matter what, and probably more efficient with Burrow and probably less chance of interceptions, but maybe I see it kind of the way you do there. Like, I'm not sure what a Burrow return should be worth as far as the point spread. Like 2 points? 2 points?
Well, I'd say about 1.5 points. I think that's close, yeah.
Let me ask you this. If we get news, let's say later this morning, we get news that Burrow is going to start, where is he going to rank for you guys in the QB rankings this week?
That's interesting.
I think the thing we need to throw into this conversation is that Joe Flacco is not fully healthy. There's a shoulder issue.
Yeah.
So also you're getting the upgrade to
That's a good point.
Joe Burrow if he does play better. But also, like, the reports of Joe Flacco wasn't even going to throw until later in the week. I'm like, well, bro, if we're questioning, can you throw? Can he play? Burrow
I would
rankings.
I'd slot him in at number 9. Behind, I've got Stafford, Goff, Purdy at 6, 7, 8. And then I would slip him in ahead of Dak Prescott, who has that tough matchup against Philly.
Yep.
Okay.
And the Patriots are kind of a pass funnel, too. Their run defense is so good. So Burrow would probably have to throw a lot as long as he got the all clear. So QB 9.
Yeah, I'm with you. Right ahead of Jacoby Brissett. That's exactly where I'm at, Fitzy.
It's kind of funny, like, on the Are They Playing tool, I've never seen a player have full practice Wednesday, full practice Thursday, and a 38% chance to play. Usually it's obviously a bit of a unique situation here with Burrow, but yeah, like I said, I'd probably be inclined to fade him his first game back, but I mean, the fact that he's practiced in full twice this week already, we'll see what happens Friday, is like pretty remarkable and makes me rethink that a bit. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably deep in the stats, injury reports, and matchups. Put your fantasy football knowledge to the test on Hard Rock Bet. Sign up with Hard Rock Bet today, and you could score $150 in bonus bets. Just place a $5 bet. If it hits, you get not only your winnings, but also $150 in extra bonus bets. Not sure what to place your first bet on? Head over to the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub, and it'll help you out. It's loaded with trends, streaks, and stats to help guide your picks. Numbers don't lie, and neither does the data in there. Check out the Stats Hub now, get the edge, and bet with confidence. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. Coming soon to more states too. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening, just open the app and check out what you've got any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. Next game here, guys. Giants at Lions. Kind of a simple one. We all expect a full bounce back from the Lions offense this week, right? Like, I'm kind of assuming we do, but it's worth asking because it was so bad against the Eagles. Is there any cause for concern coming off last week's abysmal performance? Or Fitz, is this just, we just talked about these defenses that you want to avoid, and the Eagles are one of them, and it's as simple as that?
I do think it is as simple as that. And Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery go from facing a really tough Eagles defense to going up against the Giants, who rank dead last in DVOA against the run. Worse than Cincinnati. I know the Bengals have been more generous to running backs in fantasy, but this Giants run D is bad. And I know Gibbs got you squeezed a pretty good fantasy performance out of him last week thanks to his pass catching. But this is the week I think he goes berserk on the ground, and there's probably enough room for Monty to put up 70 or 80 rushing yards too. So I think you're starting Jameson Williams, obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if you're reaching into the bag and pulling out Brock Wright, but yeah, the four principals plus Jared Goff, all great starts this week.
Yeah, D-Bro. I mean, both the running backs are ranked inside the top 22 in ECR. Both receivers ranked inside the top 16. Amon-Ra and Jahmyr are both ranked inside the top 3. So the consensus rankings, I think probably unsurprisingly see this as a full bounce back. Jared Goff, QB7 here in the rankings. Do you have them all pretty aggressively ranked too?
Yeah, aggressive. I guess the guy I'll highlight here is I want to be above ECR and David Montgomery. This just kind of feels like a spot to kind of get right. Like, he has one touchdown since week 6. I think he scores this week. I was going to bet his anytime touchdown odds, but sadly they are not good enough to sit here and lay the quiche with. So I think he gets in the end zone. I think we probably get some kind of random score, not from Brock Wright, but say like Isaac Tesso plays and he catches a long one at the end of the game.
What are the anytime touchdown odds on Monty?
Oh gosh, it was
minus.
Last
minus
I
money?
looked, it was minus, or it was close to it.
Yeah.
It was. I was hoping, dude, if it was like plus 185, I was gonna lay some cash.
Oh yeah, you weren't gonna get that. I mean, anything plus money would be a decent bet, but at minus money,
I want to say it's minus. I'm pulling it up right now, but man, I will say one thing with Sam Laporta being out of the lineup. It does make this a little bit more of a predictable offense, like less mouths to feed, because I don't think Brock Wright's going to challenge for as many targets. Yeah. On every single book right now, it's minus 105 to minus 125. Darn it.
Not enough value. Spread in this game on Hard Rock Bet is 10. I thought this was I didn't think it was going to be bigger than like New York, Baltimore, or Seattle, Tennessee, which are both 13.5. But I thought it would be a little bit closer to that than it is at 10. I mean, this is in Detroit. They're angry coming off of a really embarrassing offensive performance. Like, outside of Laporta, they're basically healthy. Like, I kind of expect Detroit to smash the Giants, honestly. Do you guys see it that way, or do you think that's a fair line?
You know what that is? That's a Jackson Dart line. That's Jackson. Yeah. That's them projecting Jackson Dart to play and keep him in the game when he shouldn't be in the game. I think that's all that is. But
yeah, Fitz.
I'm with you. Coming off a loss, playing at Ford Field, they are probably going to smash the Giants. But Jackson Dart has been so resourceful; he has kept the Giants in a lot of games that we didn't think they were going to be in.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. But this feels like the Commanders game all over, just like Dan Campbell and them just unleashing the beast and unleashing the rage.
I tend to agree with that. I think I have a pool where I have to pick 5 games every week against the spread, and of those 5, highlight my 2 favorites for extra points. I think that might be one of my 2 I highlight.
I would take a look-see at the status of Brian Branch and Terrion Arnold, though. Aren't they both? Wasn't Terrion Arnold concussed and Brian Branch had some sort of leg issue?
Toe issue. Branch was DNP and then limited, so we'll see if he plays. And yeah, Terrion Arnold's probably going to be out of this game. He hasn't even practiced this week. That's a good call, Fitzy. And if Dart plays,
yeah, let's go to Vikings at Packers here. Coming off a 2-touchdown game, where are you ranking Christian Watson this week? And also, where are you ranking him rest of season? D-Bro, you are the Christian Watson guy, so I'll start with you here.
Oh man, I mean, I'm aggressive on. Well, I'll say I'm aggressive. I got about wide receiver 25 for this week. Where is Watson and ECR this week?
Let me switch back to receiver. He is at wide receiver 27.
Okay, so I mean, I do want to be above consensus. I'm at wide receiver 25, and I've got him as a wide receiver 3 for rest of season, wide receiver 35 in rest of season rankings. I look at their schedule for the remaining part of the Packers games, and there's so many teams that they're playing, including this one this week. I mean, that just give it up to the deep ball, man. Like, they get 2 more games against the Vikings, 2 more games against the Bears. I think there's a game against the Ravens that's in there as well.
That's week
and
17.
all of those teams. Yeah, all those teams are top 12 in deep ball completion rate allowed. Like, Minnesota's giving up the highest deep ball completion rate in the entire freaking NFL. Hello, Christian Watson. Like, he's gotten 8 deep targets in 4 games. Yes, he's going to get utilized in that aspect.
Worth noting when thinking about rest of season schedule that the second Vikings game is week 18, so not for most people's fantasy seasons, just to mention. But yeah, obviously there's other good matchups in there too. Interestingly, for this week, D-Bro, he is 1 spot behind his teammate, Romeo Doubs.
Oh, I'm actually, where am I at on Dobbs? I want to say I'm even more aggressive on Dobbs.
Okay, so you've got both of them inside the top 25 then.
Yeah, Dobbs is wide receiver 22 for me.
Okay. Fitz, do you see it like that way too, where both these guys you think are really strong plays this week? And specifically, I want to hear what you think about Watson rest of the season.
Yes, and Debro and I need to go on the $100,000 pyramid because we've got a mind meld going. I've got Watson, wide receiver 25 this week, wide receiver 35 rest of season.
Nice.
Exactly the same as Debro. Yes. And it's funny, Watson, since coming back, wide receiver 27 in half-point PPR fantasy points per game, right in line with ECR. So he has to be involved. The Packers went from having one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the league to basically having nothing at tight end. Luke Musgrave is not going to give you even 50% of what Tucker Kraft did. And none of the other Green Bay receivers are alpha types. So Watson isn't going to be a big target hog either, but with an average depth of target over 20 yards, he gets high-value targets.
And to your point, Fitzy, I was surprised. We mentioned this in the waiver wire column. Dude, he had a 19% target share, and he led the team with a 33% first read share last week. So, like, they pumped more of the volume through him. Yeah. But I guess bearing the lead here, we're both high on Doubs and Watson. I think Jordan Love has a bounce-back game in this one. Like, I want to be above consensus. Where do you have Love this week?
Not high because I'm worried about that offensive line giving him time.
Okay.
So I am below consensus on him as I was last week. I've got him quarterback. Right now, quarterback 17.
Okay. I've got him at 14, and I'm looking at consensus.
He's 16 in consensus.
Okay. So I'm a little bit... Okay, that tracks.
So Fitz a hair low, lower than consensus. Debro a little bit higher.
I think it's a good spot for the passing game, and I think maybe they lean on Love a little bit more this week with Josh Jacobs, his status. Even if he plays, he's not going to be a guy you're feeding 30 carries to this week.
But they could easily give Emmanuel Wilson 18 and Chris Brooks 12.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair.
Let's go to one of the most fun matchups of the week. Colts at Chiefs. Imagine saying that back in August that this was going to be a circle the game type of a matchup here. Very fun, surprisingly meaningful matchup. So just give me a player whose consensus ranking you disagree with in this game. Fitz, starting with you.
So I think the biggest gap between my rankings and ECR for any player in this game is with Kareem Hunt, who I have 5 spots above consensus, but that might have to do with whether people are ranking Isaiah Pacheco or not. I'm not, and some people probably are. So I'll go in a different direction. I'll go with Daniel Jones. I'm 2 spots higher than consensus on him, and I know he has been a train wreck in his last 2 starts. 4 interceptions, 12 sacks, 6 fumbles. The ghost of Daniel Jones passed, and he was still kind of okay for fantasy in those 2 games, though. Nearly 600 passing yards in those 2 games, a couple of touchdown passes, 57 rushing yards, a touchdown run. So maybe Patrick Mahomes can push Daniel Jones into a shootout on Sunday. I've got Jones at QB 11 this week. He's QB 7 in fantasy points per game this season. I still think he's a worthwhile fantasy asset, but I'm sure Colts fans are terrified with what they've seen from him the last couple of weeks.
I mean, it might be a sucker's bet to say, like, oh, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and we thought the Colts were going to be terrible at the start of the year. Chiefs -3 at home is like an auto bet, but I view it as like an auto bet. Like, I don't think the Colts are going to win this game. I think I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to win by 8 touchdowns, but I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, like, definitively. And if they do that, maybe it does push Daniel Jones to get some not garbage time numbers, but to have to throw a lot and to try to keep up. Debro, how do you see it?
I do think the Chiefs win. I do think that this game is probably closer. The thing about the Chiefs defense is their run defense is still spectacular. Their pass defense has taken a step back. Like, Bo Nix didn't have a wonderful fantasy day. He did have a very solid just NFL quarterbacking day. So I think that some of that, it is very much dependent about which version of Daniel Jones that we get this week. If he looks like a pumpkin, then yeah, the Chiefs are going to roll and they'll cover and all that kind of stuff. If he can look more like early season Daniel Jones, this game is going to be fascinating. And I wrote this game took a lot of time in the primer. There's so many parts or pieces and chess pieces to this game with coverage stuff that is so freaking fascinating that I can't wait. Like, I wish I could get in a time machine and go to like next week right now and look at all the data of how this game unfolds, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. But that leads me to one of my guys here. And I feel like it's not to the same extent. I feel like we're doing this just like kind of on cruise control ranking, similar to like what people had been doing with Keon Coleman, to Xavier Worthy. He's wide receiver 31 in ECR right now, and I don't understand why the hell he justifies that. Like, over the last 4 weeks, wide receiver 47, 38, 57, 58. I think you're going to get a Colts pass defense that's going to go out of what we saw last week, more man heavy and things like that. I think they're going to drop back in too high. I think they're going to eliminate Patrick Mahomes from going down the field, which is fine. He could chew you up underneath with Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, and they're probably going to do that all freaking day. But again, that points back to no Xavier Worthy. Like, the Colts in week 7 through 9 were 53% to 65% too high. Xavier Worthy has been a freaking ghost against too high. He has a 15% target per route run rate and 0.64 yards per route run. He has been a nothing burger. I want nothing to do or starting Xavier Worthy. If that burns me, so be it. I don't think it will.
Let's say you've been playing the waiver wire quarterback game this season. Would you rather start Jacoby Brissett or Daniel Jones in this game, T-Bro?
Oh, that's a good... All right, so floor... Damn it, I'm going with Jacoby Brissett. He's
coming
been a
off
QB1
a record-setting performance.
Dude, he has been a QB1. Not to flip this all the way back to Jacoby Brissett. He has been a QB1 in every single start he's made this year. That's insanity. That's 2025 in a nutshell for me.
Fitz, what do you think about those two, Brissett or Jones?
I have Brissett ranked one spot higher.
Okay.
Yep.
By the way, 5 minutes ago, Jackson Dart ruled out. He has not cleared concussion protocol for Sunday's game against the Lions.
Alrighty then. Well, Lions are covering.
Go take Lions -10 if you can still get them. All right, let Autopilot manage your fantasy football lineup automatically so you never have to worry about last-minute changes. Auto-swap inactive players and ensure your lineup is always optimized, even when you can't be online. Take control with the flexibility to approve lineup changes via email or let Autopilot handle everything. Stay ahead with My Playbook Autopilot, available now for Fantasy Pros premium subscribers at fantasypros.com/myplaybook or on the Fantasy Pros app. Try premium for free right now by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros premium at fantasypros.com/premium. Next game,
I literally just took Detroit -10. Like, I had it pulled up on my side screen.
Nice.
I was like, let me get this before they pull it.
Go squeeze it in here. Yeah, I think that's smart. Like, again, those big lines I often am wrong on. I think the Giants are going to get kind of crushed in this game. Let's go to the last game in the early slate here on Sunday. Seahawks at Titans. Another big spread here. Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts against the Rams in Week 11, but has otherwise been excellent in 2025. Obviously, we are not expecting another 4 interceptions this week, but just how much of a bounce back do you expect from Seattle's offense? Fitz, I'll start with you.
I think the Seahawks implied total for this game is 27 points, which sounds about right. I'm expecting sort of a low-volume, high-efficiency game from Sam Darnold. I just think he'll have the luxury of playing the way Seattle wants him to play and the way he was playing earlier in the season, where he wasn't throwing a lot, but when he did, he was doing it with ruthless efficiency. So he's thrown fewer than 30 passes in 6 of his 10 games this season. And I'm guessing this is another game where Darnold throws fewer than 30 passes. So I'm sure around 10 or 12 of them are going to go to Jackson Smith and Jigba, who can certainly smash on that sort of target volume. I think maybe the main beneficiaries of this matchup for Seattle are the running backs, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, both playable against a Titans defense that's giving up the 6th most fantasy points per game to running backs.
So what do you think about the total, Fitz? It's 40.5. And my gut reaction when I saw that was under, because I'm like, I don't know how Tennessee's scoring on this Seattle defense. But on the other hand, like if they just get one touchdown at some point in the game, Seattle can get to in the mid 30s, I think, just if they have another one of these games where they're really efficient and have this bounce back now that they're not facing the Rams. So what do you think about that line?
The inclination, seeing a Titans game go into the 40s with the Vegas total, is to bet under.
Yeah, that was my gut reaction too, like I said. D-Bro, what do you think about this game and particularly Sam Darnold and the offense bouncing back?
I think the offense bounces back, man. I think like you're looking at this matchup. I mean, this is, if Seattle wants to go where they want to go, man, they need Sam Darnold playing good football. And talking about ghosts of Christmas past, like you alluded to it, Worm, like over the last few weeks, like since week 7, Sam Darnold leads the NFL in interceptions. He has the second highest turnover-worthy throw rate. The Titans secondary is a very good get-right elixir. So I think Sam Darnold has a bounce-back game. I think the offense looks more potent and efficient this week. The player that I'll throw in here is A.J. Barner. I think that he has a good game. If Sam Darnold has a really big bounce-back game, I think Barner is a very streamable tight end. Been very good versus too high coverage. I think he can score a touchdown this week.
On Hard Rock Bet, Seattle has the 7th best odds to win the Super Bowl this year.
Ooh.
I know Sam Darnold has been really good this year. I find myself still thinking like I just can't get there with Darnold. They're plus 1,200. The teams ahead of them are the Rams, the Eagles, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Colts, and the Bills. I can't really get there with the Colts either, honestly, with Daniel Jones. But yeah, like Seattle's defense is so good. I'm such a believer in Mike McDonald, and JSN is so good. But Fitz, I just can't get there with Sam Darnold.
Totally get it. It's a lot like the Broncos, whose defense is amazing. But can you, even if the Broncos get home field, can Bo Nix win 3 games? Can he win 3 games for the Broncos? I have more faith in Sam Darnold, I think, than I do in Bo Nix. And the Seattle defense is almost as good as the Broncos defense, but it is kind of the same proposition with the Seahawks that it is for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, some of the names that are in that same range with Seattle and Denver, Buffalo, Baltimore, Green Bay. I think Seattle's a better team than all 3 of those teams, like clearly. Yes. But I would rather pick any of them if we're talking to win the Super Bowl, because any of those quarterbacks can get hot. Yep. Not that any of them have made the Super Bowl before, but I just have way more faith in those quarterbacks than a guy like Darnold or Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So
I have a lot more faith in the high end moments of Jordan Love than I do Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I totally agree. I asked about the Super Bowl because I don't have anything else in this game. This is like not interesting to me at all. Seahawks are going to smash.
Start no Titans. That's the other takeaway. Don't play any freaking Titans.
Do not start a Titan.
Don't. No.
Let's go to the late afternoon slate. We just mentioned Jacoby Brissett, so we'll do Jags at Cardinals. Michael Wilson had a huge game with Marvin Harrison Jr. out last week. Harrison is missing another game. So how aggressively are we ranking Wilson with his, as I mentioned, now record-setting quarterback in Jacoby Brissett? Debro, starting with you.
Oh, he's been such an interesting player to sit here and try to rank this week. Right now, I've got him at wide receiver 23. The matchup is there. The volume should be there. If he doesn't go off or at least have a really strong game that leads to that ranking paying off, then dear God, Trey McBride is going to break the freaking slate because the Jaguars can't stop tight ends. But that's where I'm at. Like, Michael Wilson's probably going to get a ton of freaking volume in this one. It's week 7. Jacksonville's allowing the 8th most PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers. So I do have some kind of heebie-jeebies about, like, is this an outlier one-off game? Is this late season Trey Tucker? Like, but I'll follow the volume.
You said wide receiver 23, right?
Yeah.
That's lower than consensus. He's wide receiver 20 in consensus. That's in half PPR scoring. Fitz, where do you have him?
I want to get to what Debro was just saying about Michael Wilson and that dilemma about how to think about him in just a second, but I've got Wilson ranked wide receiver 18. I think there's a reasonable expectation for 9 to 10 targets against a pass funnel Jags defense. Opponents are throwing against the Jaguars 63.6% of the time. Only the Colts have faced a higher passing rate by opponents. And does Drew Petzing keep slamming Bam Knight into a pretty good Jaguars run defense that ranks 8th in DVOA? Or does Petzing let Jacoby Brissett cook? And he's been cooking, man. So I think they have a throw heavy game plan here. So about Michael Wilson, last week I mentioned I can't remember if it was this show or the ranking show, that Wilson had averaged 1.09 yards per route run for his career going into that game against the 49ers, which is a terrible number. Just for sake of comparison, Van Jefferson, career yards per route run, 1.18. So not to dump on Van Jefferson, but he's a journeyman who's played for 5 different teams in 7 NFL seasons. Fine as a 4th or 5th receiver. Useful depth piece, but no fantasy value. So for Wilson to have a lower career yards per route run number than Van Jefferson seemed pretty damning to me. But I think that was bad analysis. Like, yards per route run is a really good stat because it factors in the ability to draw targets and the ability to do something with those targets. But I wonder if maybe yards per route run has done a disservice to Michael Wilson, and maybe it's more of a Kyler Murray stat in this case than a Michael Wilson stat, because Kyler Murray's a one-read quarterback, basically. He looks at the first read, maybe a second read, and if it's not there, he just starts boogieing around. Michael Wilson has not been Kyler's first read very often. His first read target share, according to our friends at Fantasy Points Data, it's been well under 20% in all 3 of his seasons in Arizona. And Jacoby Brissett is just a different kind of quarterback, and maybe a much better quarterback for Michael Wilson. Like, Michael Wilson was a 3rd-round pick. A lot of people liked him as a prospect. And really the biggest questions about him coming out of Stanford were his health. He had a lot of injuries in college, didn't play more than 6 games in any of his last 3 college seasons. So obviously Michael Wilson benefits from Marvin Harrison Jr. being out. But I know that my guy Matt Waldman, author of the Rookie Scouting Portfolio, he thinks Michael Wilson is a better route runner than Marvin Harrison Jr. So I am in on Michael Wilson now that he's the de facto number 1 receiver in Arizona for another week or 2. And I think I have to reconsider Wilson as far as like my dynasty rankings and where I'm going to be putting him in 2026 rankings, because it seems like Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are headed toward a divorce, and Michael Wilson still has another year left on his rookie deal.
That's a good shout out. And to add to your point, I was looking this up as you were talking, Fitzy. Michael Wilson last year amongst 100 qualifying wide receivers, 45th in separation, 42nd in route win rate. So not bad at all, man. Like, I think there's something to that. And I've been shouting to the high heavens of the last few seasons. Kyler Murray is terrible. He has been god awful. He has been limiting to this entire offense. And like, I know we've given Drew Petzing a lot of crap on certain seasons and shows and things about Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, maybe kind of we point a lot more fingers back at maybe Kyler Murray has just been that bad and that limiting over the last 2 years? Ugh.
Maybe.
By the way, to your point, Debro, about Trey McBride, he's ranked inside the top 12 amongst flex players, which is not common for a tight end to get inside the top 12 when also compared to running backs and receivers. That's how good of a matchup that is, and obviously just how great he's been lately. So Trey McBride, breaking news, going to be awesome probably another week. Browns at Raiders. First NFL start for Shedeur Sanders. What are our expectations for Shedeur, Debro?
Man, it's going to be a wild day. Wild day on, I already know it's going to be a wild day on social media, regardless of however this goes.
Yeah.
But I hope for better things for Shedeur. I don't know if we get better things. I think a lot of this comes down to what can the Cleveland offensive line do versus Max Crosby. That's going to be a huge factor in this. And really just, I mean, absolutely just pounding it into Shedeur's head. Like, get the ball out of your freaking hands. You cannot run circles in the backfield. You cannot do this stuff. Like, throw the ball away. Live to fight another day. I would like to say that I have hope. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I could see this going very, very poorly.
Fitz?
Shedeur's player prop for yardage is at 161.5 passing yards at Hard Rock Bets. I would bet the over on that. The Fantasy Pros projections have Shedeur at 179 yards, so yeah, he could smash this total and still not have a very good game. That's a good call. 179 yards, still not a very appealing number for fantasy. Browns Raiders has a Vegas total of 36 points. Shedeur is probably going to have Max Crosby in his face all day. I don't want to play any Browns in fantasy except maybe Quinshon Judkins.
I agree with that.
I definitely agree with that. I don't know if I actually agree on the prop. I mean, he was 4 of 16. I wasn't
he
a
came
star.
in ice cold.
I know, but what he struggled with was the same thing he struggled with in college, which is pressure. He could not handle it at all. So that was not like a surprising, like, I don't know that was him coming in cold, because that's what he was at Colorado. This is still a bad Browns offensive line facing Max Crosby. I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure, and I think he's going to look really, really bad.
Yeah,
it's a really low line to your point, but I do not think he's going to look good.
At the same time, I would think Stefanski's probably going to drop some quick hitting stuff for him, stuff that can like make
That's
him.
all I've been doing with Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, make him feel a little bit more comfortable. Do some stuff where he doesn't have to like take 7-step drops, sit in the pocket, have everyone swarming him. We'll see.
To your point, Worm, since week 7, the Raiders have the 7th lowest pressure rate. So if Max isn't getting home, then nobody's getting home. So I think that's a big point. So like, Stefanski would be very wise to sit here and take the Dylan Gabriel playbook and just make everything underneath, short, quick hitters, play a lot of heavy personnel, give help to the side where Max Crosby is, and then you probably have decently clean pockets. I like the call out for the overpassing yards, but I hope he plays good. But I will agree with Fitzy. Like, I would love to get a clarification too out of Stefanski. Is like, has he had any first team reps, or is that just
they
been
said
during
on
the
the
season?
broadcast that Stefanski talks about that their player development like a lot, and like we set aside time for the backups to get these opportunities in practice. Obviously I don't have the details of that, but on the broadcast they were talking about that once Shedeur came in, that Stefanski had a lot of faith that if he had to come into a game like prior to it actually happening, that it would be fine, and like they really believe in their player development and all that stuff. So I don't remember the exact way they phrased it, but they did talk about that on the broadcast during that game. And obviously he did not look
Stefanski's vibes anytime Shedeur is brought up are not good. That's the only thing. I'm like, God, that guy just seems like it just screams he was forced to draft him, and not like he didn't want to.
Yeah, would my jaw be on the floor if he was okay? No, but I'm not expecting it. It was as poor a performance as I can ever remember, even from a backup quarterback coming in cold. It's as poor a performance as I can remember watching from a backup quarterback. It was really bad on Sunday, but that's a good point about the Raiders not getting home as much if it's not Max Crosby, which definitely will help Shedeur a lot. If you want a chance to win a signed Justin Jefferson Vikings jersey for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to fantasypros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Fantasy Pros app, leave a review for the podcast, or follow us on X, Instagram, or TikTok at Fantasy Pros. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive. We will be announcing a winner on the podcast near the beginning of next month. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Next game up here, guys, Eagles at Cowboys. So I think it's a really interesting matchup on both sides of the ball. So I want to kind of, on both sides, have you tell me which unit you think wins. So explosive Cowboys offense versus the stingy Eagles defense, and then the inconsistent Eagles offense versus the bad but maybe improved after the trade deadline Cowboys defense. Let's start with Cowboys offense versus Eagles defense. Fitz, who wins that matchup?
I'll say the Eagles defense. They have completely smothered the Packers and the Lions, two pretty good offenses in their last two games. Jalen Phillips was such a nice addition for them. Man, like he was just – they had so many nice pieces in place already, and he was just the maybe one missing ingredient. Their defense is pretty healthy. I think the Eagles defense is a really tough matchup for any offense right now.
Debra?
Yeah, I think it's the Eagles defense, dude. Since week 7, they're 5th in pressure rate. They are getting home. They weren't doing that at the beginning of the season. So I think their secondary is outstanding. Fangio's been in his bag. Yeah, I think it's the Eagles defense.
And then how about the other side of the ball, the Eagles offense versus what has been a bad Cowboys defense, Debra?
I think the Eagles offense, and I think specifically Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. Smith, you saw in week 1, Dallas went with too high on 57% of the defensive snaps. I think you see a similar game plan, because if you just run too high coverage, you're taking A.J. Brown out of the equation. He has been so coverage sensitive, like versus single high, 2.1 yards per route run versus too high, 1.3 yards per route run. So you can take him out of the equation playing too high safeties, and this is also a Kevin Patullo problem. No, Tommy P, I do not believe that Kevin Patullo needs to be or will be a head coach in the NFL. If anybody's watched the Eagles offense, you know this. But I think it's a good day for Devonta Smith. I think it's a good day for Dallas Goedert as well. Dallas has given up the 10th most receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends. So out of those two guys, I think the Eagles run their offense through them, also with a large smattering of Saquon Barkley.
So you're picking the Eagles on both sides of the ball. It sounds like you like them -3.
Yep, sure do.
Okay. Fitz, what do you think about the Eagles offense versus the Dallas defense?
Me too. I'm with the Eagles here. I would maybe buy the possibility that the Dallas defense is better now than it was early in the season with Quinnen Williams and getting some injured guys back. But I know the Eagles offense has been frustrating, but it is certainly not for lack of talent on that side of the ball. Although Lane Johnson being out, that is unquestionably a problem for the Eagles, but they still have a pretty good offensive line even without Lane Johnson. I know they've maybe underperformed a bit this year, but I'm going with the Eagles here.
All right. Well, since you guys are both in line on that one, we can move on. Falcons at Saints. How significantly are we dropping Falcons players with Kirk Cousins now starting at quarterback, Fitz?
Well, I'm not dropping Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier. In fact, maybe Kirk Cousins actually benefits those guys for fantasy since the Falcons are incentivized to take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands as much as possible and lean on the running game. I've got Kyle Pitts, tight end 8, and Darnell Mooney, wide receiver 32. Not excited about either guy, but maybe they get target bumps with Drake London out, although a target bump might not mean that much when the quarterback is Kirk Cousins.
D-Bro?
Yeah, Fitz and I are kind of hand-holding on ranks. I got Mooney at wide receiver 32. Pitts, I've floated him anywhere from like tight end 7 to tight end 10, just depending on who I'm kind of looking at for volume and stuff. So I think like with Drake London being out of this game, I'm not dropping anybody a ton because I think the volume gets more consolidated between these players and their offense. So I'm not saying that I have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins, but let's also like not give too much praise. Michael Penix hasn't played good this year either.
Yeah. Is there where are you ranking Pitts, D-Bro?
I've got him at tight end 8 right now, but like I kind of want to move Dallas Goedert above him. You can make a conversation for Juwan Johnson above him. He's going to live in that low end tight end 1 kind of ilk.
You mentioned Fitz Algier. Where is he ranked for you?
I have got him. So it's just, I think
he's RB38 in consensus, by the way.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's that low. I have got him. I've got him running back 30. I probably have to move that down. I right now I've got him ahead of Bam Knight, and I've got him ahead of the 2 Titans.
I was gonna say like the 2 Titans. I mentioned them with Monangai. It's the same thing here. They're both ahead of Algier, and I just like I mean again I really don't expect Tennessee to do anything against that Seattle defense, and I would just much rather take a chance on Algier or Monangai getting into the end zone than starting either of those Tennessee guys.
Yeah,
truthfully,
I do think I need to move him behind Bam Knight just based on volume. But then again, it wouldn't shock me if Tyler Algier got a dozen carries this week.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. Sean Tucker coming off a fantastic game against the Bills with Bucky Irving still out. Are you interested in starting him against the Rams, D-Bro?
I'm not. I just got to give a lot of respect to the Rams run defense. I mean, since week 7, 8th fewest rushing yards per game allowed, 5th lowest explosive run rate, 4th lowest yards after contact per attempt. Tucker has to get all of his production on the early downs because he's not going to get a lot of pass game, hardly any pass game utility. We're still kind of wondering, does Bucky Irving play or not? And then does this become like a 3-way committee this week? I just don't have a lot of faith in Sean Tucker. I think for the Buccaneers to put up points in this game, I think it's going to have to be through the passing game. And I just don't think Sean Tucker is going to be involved in that.
Fitz?
Yeah, we've been talking about the hierarchy of NFL defenses on this show so far already with the Texans and the Broncos and the Eagles, I think, are our top 3. But then right behind them are the Rams and the Seahawks and maybe the Packers and who else? There was maybe one more we forget. Patriots we mentioned as being close. So, yeah, it's just such a tougher matchup for Tucker than he had last week against a bad Bills run defense. And even with the 140 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns last week, Sean Tucker played 11 fewer snaps than Rachaad White in that game. And now with this much tougher matchup, partial workload, I'm not very excited. I've got Tucker at RB 27, I think.
The second question that we have for Sunday Night Football is we're going to highlight our favorite 3- and 4-star props from the prop bet cheat sheet ahead of Sunday Night Football. That's something we're doing every single week. Fitz, I'll start with you. What's your favorite 3- or 4-star prop from the prop bet cheat sheet this week?
Well, talking about how tough the Rams defense is, I'll go under 241.5 passing yards for Baker Mayfield. This is a 3-star bet on the Betting Pros player prop cheat sheet. So, yeah, Rams do have a top 5 defense, and they have the 5th lowest opponent passer rating in the league, and they're giving up the 6th fewest fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. So this is also why I have Baker Mayfield ranked outside of QB1 range this week. I've got him down to QB14, and Baker's in sort of a mini slump. He's averaging 5.7 yards per attempt over his last 4 games. Like, this Buccaneers passing game has not been working lately.
Debro?
So I mean, Fitz and I we see this game very similarly. I am going to go to the other side of the coin, though. I'm going to take the over 1.5 passing touchdowns, which is a 2-star bet on Betting Pros right now for Baker Mayfield. I agree with Fitzy on the yardage, and I agree with the tough matchup. I just think back to the Tucker point. If they're going to try to keep pace, I don't think the Baker plays well in this game. They have to move the ball through the air. And that's where I think playing, like whether we talk about garbage time or catch up or matchups, I do think he gets to 2 passing touchdowns, but I agree with Fitzy wholeheartedly. Like, I've got Baker Mayfield at QB 16 this week. Like, I'm, oh gosh, this is going to scare me and go into our next game, but like, do you rank Bryce Young ahead of Baker Mayfield this week? That's a question. That's a real question.
Well,
you pause, Fitzy. It's a question.
What do you think, Fitz?
I mean, I don't as of now, but it is kind of a real question, and we should talk about this Monday night game because
I was gonna say so. Baker's about 3 spots higher in consensus, and we are going to get to that. But first, I'd let everybody know that those were our top prop bets for Sunday Night Football this week, courtesy of Betting Pros. You can check out our NFL prop bet cheat sheet at bettingpros.com/props. Premium subscribers have access to our 5-star prop bets, which have a 57% win rate, and we're up 88 units through week 10. All right, Monday Night Football wrapping things up. Panthers at 49ers. Bryce Young and Tyrod McMillan are both coming off the best games of their careers. How will this pair perform against the Niners on Monday Night Football, Fitz?
Yeah, so Bryce threw for more than 400 yards last week against the Falcons, his career best yardage output, and was not the only 400-yard passer on the week. The other one, Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett was playing the 49ers. Who does Bryce Young get this week? The 49ers. And the 49ers rank last in the NFL in sacks. They only have 12 sacks this year. Their sack rate is 2.9%. Next worst sack rate is 3.9%. They are last in pressure rate at 13.1%. I think the next worst is 15.6%. 49ers cornerbacks are basically sitting ducks with such a feeble pass rush. And even a mediocre quarterback can look like vintage Tom Brady if he has all day to sit in the pocket and wait for his receivers to get open. So it is a really good spot for Bryce Young. And Debro asked me that question, and I'm looking at where Bryce Young is in my rankings. He's QB 18. And I'm wondering if he shouldn't be ahead of Baker Mayfield, ahead of Jordan Love, ahead of maybe even Sam Darnold.
The other name that's right ahead of him is Trevor Lawrence, which I'm sure you don't need to really think about.
Yeah. No.
Come on. Why?
I'm just reading you the consensus. I don't agree with it.
I mean, in fairness, like going into last week's game before he lit up the Falcons, Bryce Young was averaging 5.6 yards per attempt. That is a Canadian Football League caliber number. So... and under 200 passing yards a game. Like, things were pretty bad for Bryce Young, but great game last week. And, you know, the setup for him is just pristine this week.
Yeah. But by the way, he's 18th right now. He's really 17th because Jackson Dart is still ahead. That he's going to be out, once that kind of has a chance to update. And then you take into consideration like Allen already played, so like of the remaining people, he's about QB 16 in terms of consensus here. And then, sorry, Fitz, did you say on Tyrod McMillan just what you kind of expect out of him in this game?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I've got him just outside QB1 range, like wide receiver 15, I think.
He's wide receiver 12 in consensus.
Oh boy, I don't know if I want to be 3 spots below consensus on T-Mac.
Yeah, let me make sure that hasn't updated here. Yep, still wide receiver 12.
Oh, man. I might have to do something about that.
D-Bro, what do you think about those two, Young and Tet?
I just moved Bryce Young. Oh, pray for me, people. I've just moved Bryce Young ahead of Baker Mayfield. I got him at QB 15 right now. And I do have Tyrod McMillan ahead of ECR. I have my wide receiver 11. I think this is going to be painful, but I think it's a real conversation this week. I think Tyrod McMillan versus Justin Jefferson is a real rankings conversation this week. And yes, I mean, this is going to go back to, I agree with everything that Fitz laid out here. And Bryce Young, maybe future CFL MVP, Bryce Young. He played well. I think he's going to play well again this week. Do I think he's the long-term franchise answer for the Carolina Panthers? Heck no. No way. But can he look like it this week versus the 49ers? I think it is definitely possible. And Tyrod McMillan just continuing to look like a freaking stud.
When I hear D-Bro say Tyrod McMillan versus Justin Jefferson is a conversation this week, what I'm hearing is J.J. McCarthy is bad, and I apologize for championing him.
I mean, I don't apologize for that. We shall see how this plays out. But yes, Bryce Young ranked over J.J. McCarthy in rankings, owning L's this week.
I mean, right now it feels pretty inarguable. You could still plant your flag, D-Bro, that he could turn it around. But right now, there's really no argument to be made. So
I have hope.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Best of luck to everybody here in Week 12. A lot of agreement from Fitz and D-Bro today, so hopefully that's not a bad sign. That feels scary and dangerous when you guys are on the same page. For D-Bro and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.